What is going on, everybody? I may let you guess where I am right now. Site of Super Bowl 54, Miami. I was on a plane working for most of this afternoon, so I didn't get to do a video reacting to the wild day, but Deshaun Watson obviously shocked everybody. He picked Cleveland, and the 49ers made possibly the most under-the-radar signing in their franchise's history, thanks to Deshaun Watson. George Odum, the safety from Indianapolis, joins the 49ers on a 3-year contract worth up to a little over $10 million. So it's time to react now. Just wow. First, Deshaun Watson. The Colts, the Browns were notified by Watson's camp that they were out of the running, two days ago? But money talks, and they gave him $230 million guaranteed. On top of that, they were able to give him a $1 million base salary for this 2022 season, which means that it's essentially a loophole for Deshaun Watson to avoid financial losses due to a potential suspension, because there's probably one coming from the National Football League. So $230 million guaranteed, he gets suspended. He's going to lose a chunk of that $1 million base salary, so we can call it, $229.5 million guaranteed for Deshaun Watson? Wild stuff. That meant more to Deshaun Watson than whatever the Atlanta team or whatever the New Orleans team was offering. Deshaun Watson wanted the money. So he's going to go to Cleveland. That means that Baker Mayfield is definitely out. I find it ironic that Deshaun Watson is the adult that the Cleveland Browns are looking for, but so be it. That means that Baker Mayfield's got to find a landing spot, and obviously we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. Where will he land for the 49ers? Well, everybody's talking about the Colts for both of these guys, and I'm sure the Colts are interested in both of them, and based on what it sounds like, Baker Mayfield's really interested in the Indianapolis Colts. The question is, if it's Baker Mayfield versus Jimmy Garoppolo, who do the Colts pick? Both of these guys have had shoulder surgeries. Both of these guys have injury issues. Jimmy Garoppolo's been more efficient in his career. Has Jimmy Garoppolo been with a better roster? Well, that's arguable, as far as the offensive roster goes. The Browns have a good offensive line. They've had good receivers, but Odell Beckham Jr. quit on Baker Mayfield because he wasn't getting the ball enough. It's going to be an interesting case study, because both of these guys, Jimmy Garoppolo and Baker Mayfield, are quarterbacks who, I've said this before, they're not 6'5", 230 pounds. They're not your Carson Wentz type of just pure physical dominance. That's what teams usually like to trade for. So they both have to be creative. They're both gamers in that right. Baker Mayfield's younger than Jimmy Garoppolo. Baker Mayfield's making less money in 2022 than Jimmy Garoppolo, and that might influence some things. But Mayfield's on the 5th-year option for former first-round draft picks, making $18 million guaranteed in this 2022 season. Jimmy Garoppolo's cap hit, if he is traded to somebody else, if he's not released, is going to be a good $25 or so million. That's a base salary, including some per-game roster bonuses and some workout bonus money. So the question is, which contract is more tradable? In either case, you can lower your cap hit as the acquiring team by extending either Garoppolo or Mayfield and spreading the cap hits out into future years. So that is a definite possibility, I think, for either one of these guys. And it's just going to be a question of, what do the Indianapolis Colts or the Seattle Seahawks or teams like that want as far as their preferred quarterback? Do they want a little bit more youth with Baker Mayfield, or do they want, the quote-unquote adult in the room with Jimmy Garoppolo? Because I can guarantee you that Baker Mayfield probably didn't help his cause with how he acted this week after the Browns met with Deshaun Watson. So one thing that the 49ers and Garoppolo have going for them is how he handled this past season. He was there knowing that Trey Lance was the 49ers guy for the future, and he still conducted himself with a lot of class. I know he impressed a lot of people in the building, and we'll see if that becomes a consideration for people around the NFL. All right, next piece of business, George Odum, the safety. This guy was a first-team All-Pro special teams player in 2020. He led the league in tackles on special teams. what I'm seeing here is that the 49ers might be trying to bring back the Tony Montana squad, or their 2022 version of it. They have languished on special teams over the past couple of years. The 49ers have just not gotten it done. Number 26 in DVOA on special teams. It was by far the weakest phase of the game. We've seen the 49ers take major efforts at bringing special teams back to what it should be. And they last were, really solid as a unit, probably back in the Harbaugh era, probably back in 2011, when the Tony Montana squad was dancing before all these kickoff coverage and kickoff return opportunities. I know it's really noisy behind me. I'm at the airport here in Miami. I'm waiting for my girlfriend, who's going to be flying in from Nashville in about 20 minutes. So I'm doing you guys a favor here. You gotta bear with me for the poor audio quality, but we're at the site of Super Bowl 54. I know nobody wants to talk about that, but I'll try to keep it as quiet as possible. Don't want to be inside the airport. I want to have my mask off, so I'm outside and just want to keep talking special teams. So the 49ers are, man, that guy's honking loud. It's late at night here, by the way. It's 3 hours ahead of where whatever time the West Coast is at. So we're gonna be coming up on midnight. But let me tell you something about the 49ers special teams. They sucked last year. They weren't good. The exception to the rule was the Packers game. And thankfully for their sake, they showed up in the Packers game with Jordan Willis. A couple blocks in that game, obviously a field goal block, Jimmy Ward, then Jordan Willis, the pump block. Good return from Deebo Samuel on kickoff. So the 49ers were able to take the Packers, who were an even worse special teams unit than them, to the woodshed and win that divisional playoff game. But on the aggregate, the 49ers weren't good. They had a top 10 offense, they had a top 10 defense, and they had a bottom 5 special teams unit. Bottom 6, let's be nice. So the 49ers have to get better on special teams. So they essentially, I don't want to say they fired Richard Hightower, the coordinator, but they let his contract expire. He went to the Bears. They picked up Brian Schneider, who was a coordinator of several top 5 special teams units in Seattle early last decade. Think Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Bobby Wagner, that whole squad. The one common variable that Brian Schneider had to work with was top-tier talent in Seattle on special teams. He had top-tier players on rookie contracts. Well, 49ers are a more mature team now, obviously. This is a team that's already been to 2 NFC championship games in 3 years, so it's not going to be a bunch of rookie contract players, although they do have 9 draft picks. So the 49ers are going to be trying to load up on some of those draft picks so they could load up the special teams unit. But they also realize they have to get some actual paid professionals that know how to deliver on special teams, that have done it in the league before. And that's what this free agency has been about. So with George Odum, the safety from Indianapolis, you legitimately have a first team all-pro special teams player from 2020 who led the league in special teams tackles. Yesterday's signing, Ray McLeod, led the league in punt returner yardage just past year. He's a return specialist. You go back to Oren Burks, the linebacker for the Packers, he's a special teams ace. So the 49ers have signed 3 special teams aces over the past 3 days. And that is a commitment, along with their new coordinator, Brian Schneider. That's a commitment to make this special teams unit a top 10 unit. So we'll see if the 49ers succeed, but at least they're committed to it. And they've now added, 4 or 5 players? 4 players here during this free agency period. So it's going to be fascinating to me to see if this investment pays off, because you see an obvious case of the weakest part of the 49ers game, special teams, for this past year, as something that they have just invested a lot in here during free agency to try to improve. Now, if we go to George Odum and the safety position, this is going to be interesting. He didn't miss a single tackle in the box last year. This guy's 6'1", maybe 6 feet. I mean, he doesn't seem that tall. He's shorter than Jaquiski Tart, but he's not that heavy either. He's 201 pounds. But the guy, he could tackle. That's why he led the league in special teams tackles in 2020, 2 seasons ago. But he can tackle in close quarters. You see the height and weight, and you think, this guy's probably not going to be a box safety. He's not quite big enough. But the game has changed. It really has. And you have these smaller guys, maybe inspired by Budda Baker, great player for the Cardinals, who are missiles, who can throw their body in there and who can deliver in the box. So I think that with George Odum, the 49ers have a box safety. I don't know if he's going to be a every down in, every down out box safety, but hey, they have a little bit of a cast to support Jimmy Ward, who obviously is a down in, down out safety. And the 49ers love interchangeability between the strong and free safety positions. And listen, Jimmy Ward is one of the best tacklers in football. Missed tackle rate was like 2.1% last year, which was really, really low. With George Odum, a guy who didn't miss a single tackle in the box this past year and who's made some plays in coverage, I think you got a nice little rotation that you could put in there with Talanoa Hufanga. Maybe even with Tarvarius Moore, whose contract told, so he's still with the 49ers. I'm not sure what his health status is going to be next year. So it's about adding depth, and the 49ers probably aren't done. You know, and this applies to the whole roster, but their safety core right now, what they have on the roster as we speak, is nowhere probably near what the finished product will be, since they have 9 draft picks coming up in late April next month. So the 49ers are just at the start of this roster building process, which is why everybody needs to calm down. There's so many people jumping to conclusions acting as if the 49ers are about to play a game in late March on St. Patrick's Day. And that's just not the case. They're not going to play. They got half a year until they play a game. So they're building the roster. They've got 9 draft picks coming up. And when we talk special teams, when we talk defense, when we talk the safety position, I think it's likely that the 49ers are going to add more. And hell, they may even add more in free agency. We're still in the early stages of free agency. All the big splash deals are happening now. The Jaquiski Tart's still out there. I don't know if they're going to bring him back or not. I'm not making a prediction either way. But I do know that this is a process. And the owners' meetings are next week. And Jimmy Garoppolo is obviously not even traded yet. I mean, there's still so much business to take care of this offseason, including signing players, to where I don't know where George Odum fits into the larger exact scheme of things, because I don't know what the exact final roster of the 49ers is going to be. So just let's sit back and let's just wait to see how they construct this roster. But I think that George Odum will be a fine rotational piece as a safety. And I think that George Odum is going to be a good special teams player, along with other guys the 49ers picked up. So that's the summary of today. You guys can all sub to the channel. I see some questions. I'm in Miami because my best friend and his wife, I actually introduced them a few years ago. They're married now. They now live out here in Miami and Brickell, so I'm out here for the weekend. Enjoying the weekend, gonna cover the Niners, obviously, keep track of free agency, but just get some sun before I go to Europe next month. Got some exciting plans in Europe that I can't tell anybody about yet, but I'll let you guys know soon. We're gonna do some YouTube lives out there from Europe as we get ready from the draft. Gonna be in Prague, gonna be in Italy. Unlimited travel budget, somebody said. No, I just have credit cards that give me airline miles. I could recommend some for you. I just know how to work the system. So yeah, I've been to Miami a couple times since the Super Bowl. Always fun to be out here. It's a good place. It's warm. I don't know if you guys can see back here. It's a little oversaturated this way. I don't think that light's too bad, but yeah. You can tell it's warm. I'm in my short sleeves and just hanging around out at the airport. So we're gonna get some good Cuban sandwiches here, probably eat some tacos tonight, get some sunshine, and we'll be all good. All right, guys. Well, anyway, yeah, it was ridiculous money for Watson, especially considering the fact he's probably gonna be suspended this year. I mean, and they gave up a whole hell of a lot to trade for Deshaun Watson as far as draft capital plus the money. They're all in. But he might not even, I mean, it's just such a Cleveland thing to do, right? If he gets suspended for 6 games, and that's not a good first look for investing all that money in the guy too. Yeah, it's all fully guaranteed. He hasn't played in a year. I mean, it's no surprise that he dropped everything at the snap of a finger and went to Cleveland when they offered him that kind of money, because it was probably such a bigger offer than the other teams. But the implications, I mean, somebody asked about the implications. I know I have a lot more viewers now than I did at the start, so I'll repeat this. My arm hurts, by the way. This is like an arm exercise, holding up the iPhone 13 for this long, but that's why I'm switching arms. The implications are that Baker Mayfield's on his way out. So essentially you have quarterback needy teams in Indianapolis, in Seattle, Carolina, potentially New Orleans. It's 4 teams that I just listed. You have 4 quarterback needy teams, and you have 2 legitimate starting quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Jimmy Garoppolo, who theoretically will be on the move. Mayfield for sure, Garoppolo 98%, right? Really high, close to for sure. He's already said goodbye to the 49ers and to the media in the press conference. So I think that, you know, nobody likes to talk about interdivision trades, so Seattle probably, and Garoppolo's probably less likely. But Cleveland, Cleveland might want to deal with Indianapolis, and Indianapolis also might want to deal with Cleveland and the 49ers. I'm not sure who they prefer. To me, it's the Colts trying to decide between Garoppolo and Baker Mayfield if nothing else changes. But who knows? Something else can change. And, you know, one thing, like, there's going to be a lot of clickbait out there. One thing to keep in mind is just think of this Deshaun Watson situation. Everybody was 100% sure it was going to be either Atlanta or New Orleans, right? At, 12:44 p.m. or 10:44 a.m. or whatever time it was. By 10:45 a.m., 1 minute later, boom, it was Cleveland. So we knew nothing. And we could speculate a lot, but we know actually nothing until a trade is announced, because so much of this stuff is happening under the rug. Media doesn't know, Twitter doesn't know, fake sources don't know. So let's not pretend that we know more than we actually do. That's my word of advice. People are so sure that Indianapolis is going to pick Baker over Jimmy. How do you know? Or you're speculating at that point. To be honest, Jimmy has a much more impressive track record as far as on-field success than Baker Mayfield. So, and he's also behaved like an adult over the past year in a similar situation or a related scenario as Baker Mayfield. So that's all stuff to keep in mind as we move forward. All right, so that's the summary. Thank you guys all for coming on. I'm going to do a Lunch with Lombardi from Miami this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll talk to you all soon. Everybody take care. Oh, and subscribe to the channel. Love you guys. Take care.